We spoke about women in Torah, why women can't. Now let's talk about what women do have to study. A woman is required to study to know. In other words, she has to know anything that she has to be able to do, which includes not only all the commandments she has to fulfill in terms of like keeping Shabbos or something like that, but that also includes what we call deos, which also includes what we believe in. In other words, anything to do with emunah, which includes all of Tanakh, beginning with the Chumash, all of the Svarim that deal with emunah, which is massive. How many men have read through all those? Plus all of Halach.
When are they supposed to learn?
When are they supposed to? That's the issue. When are they supposed to learn? So it's very interesting. A man has a mitzvah to study Torah any time he possibly can. A woman doesn't have that mitzvah. She has to study anytime she possibly can. But a woman can't waste time either. If a woman has time, she's supposed to be studying. Obviously, if she needs just to breathe, especially in a society where women have careers and bring up families, to tell her that when she gets a few spare moments, she's got to spend it learning, maybe a bit much. But anytime she really can, she's really supposed to. Women are supposed to be very knowledgeable. And many women over the generations were. Yeah.
Can you have a chavrusa with, let's say, your wife on these types of Torah things?
Sure you could. Just be careful. It's very sensitive just in terms of shalom bias.
Really?
Yes. See, men and women think differently. And men have egos. And men often are terribly impatient with the way the wives are working through whatever they're studying. And it's not good. Yeah.
Thank you. Why, given all the things that women are needed, why don't they have that mitzvah?
Why?
To learn in every spare moment that they have that and do.
Why don't they?
Yeah, why don't they have that mitzvah, but men have that mitzvah?
Because it's understood that the number one obligation of a woman is to raise children, and the number one obligation of man is to study Torah.
Thank you.
Now, traditionally, women learned a lot. But there's something very interesting. When it came to men's education, the Torah says, "V'limantem osam es b'nechem." Every father is to teach his children. Really, the obligation is the father's to teach his children the whole Torah. If he didn't, then when the child grows up, he's got to go study himself. But really, it's the father's obligation. The words of the Gemara and the Rambam says it, and the Shulchan Aruch says it. Lo limdo aviv. His father didn't teach him, so he's got to go and study it himself. And we have another pasuk for that. Matem osam shmartem masosam. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Yeshua ben Gamla, one of the Amoraim, realized in his day that not every father was capable of teaching his son. He established formal education, which to us was a step down, by the way. Ideally, every father was in the same wavelength as his kid. He understood the best way to teach him the whole of the oral law. Yeshua ben Gamla set up an educational system with rules. You cannot have more than 25 students for one teacher. All sorts of rules that we break today. For women's education, it continued at home. Formal education for women was not established. They continued studying at home. In some homes, the women were well educated, in many they were. In others, they weren't. It was really only during the Enlightenment and I guess it's primarily due to the fact that Jews were liberated from the ghettos and were allowed into the big world. It was emancipation, really, where so many countries lifted their laws that did not allow Jews in higher education and in so many professions, that Jewish girls started becoming more worldly and less knowledgeable in Torah, and it wasn't good. So in Poland, Sarah Shamir established the Beis Yaakov system, formal education for women.
It started in Poland?
It was started in Poland, in Krakow. It was controversial. The idea, women should be at home, not going away to school. It caught on pretty well. Obviously, post-Holocaust, especially where you had so many children that survived the Holocaust, who were orphaned. They had gone, they had no religious education. There was a need for formal education, and the Beis Yaakov system really was established and universally accepted.
Before all this, before the structured schooling, when the fathers taught their sons, they also taught the daughters?
Generally not. It was usually the mothers that taught the daughters, and it was rarely by way of text. Rarely.
It was like life lessons and
and they would talk. It's very interesting. I know my personal experience. My mother was brought up. Of course, she had a mother, a very good person. I never met them. They all perished in the Holocaust. But just a second. I'm just in the middle of class. Yes, yeah. So her mother was busy with everything, and her grandmother taught her everything. She knew so much halacha, what she was taught at home, like a lot of it, like a lot of stuff. But there was no formal schooling for them. They did not have Beis Yaakov there. She was in Czechoslovakia. They did not have Beis Yaakov there. She did her own studying. She was self-taught. She read a lot. She was fluent in many languages. Interestingly, they did not study Hebrew.
Yiddish?
What's that?
Yiddish?
Everything was Yiddish. Everything was Yiddish. She read things like she was fluent in English and Russian, Czech, German, Hungarian. So she read a lot. After the Holocaust, she came to America. She would just read nonstop. In fact, I remember growing up, the house was all about what's mom reading now. And when I was growing up, she would teach me. And the truth is, she taught me all the stuff that they don't teach you in school. The Rambam's Moreh Nevuchim, the Guide to the Perplexed, which is something nobody touches. Nobody touches. I was taught that at home. Like a lot of the philosophy, the attitudes, and stuff that's never addressed in formal yeshiva education. I definitely got at home. But I got a taste of what it was like in the olden days. Like, Women did not have formal education, but they knew so much. And there was passion. And of course, she's very opinionated. Passion, a real passion.
Did she have like like for guys like find herself a Rav and make her up and you can ask questions? Did she have somebody that when she read all this stuff she could like go to?
When she was growing up, her grandmother.
Okay, but like,
after that, no, she would just look everything up.
Okay.
She would just read and look everything up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there anything if because we don't have the Chiyuvs learning more that they shouldn't? Or
Yeah, we spoke about, in the last class, we spoke about why Gemara is not appropriate for women. It was not written in a manner that works for women. But that's only Gemara. It's not true of anything else. Yeah.
So would you say that Rabbi Shimon ben Gamla didn't find any flaws in the teaching of mothers to daughters?
Correct.
Interesting.
There were no flaws. It was working. It was working.
And it still works, or it's not working?
It stopped with the Enlightenment.
It stopped with the okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's important for women to have Rav sources that they can go to?
It's a good idea. It's a good idea. It's a very good idea. It's a very good idea. Today, there's formal education for women. They have their teachers. They have their rebbeim.
Do you think that's better or worse though?
Interesting. Yeah.
I have never seen a woman come out of Beis Yaakov the way my mother did. The way she came out of public school, there was something they got at home, from their grandmothers that you just don't get in school. On the other hand, the intellectual level is very high. Academically, the women are good. It's interesting. When my parents made Aliyah in their 50s, in their early 50s, they came here. Everyone talked about retiring. They said, no, we're coming to contribute something to the country. They came in the 50s, and my mother was determined. Well, she was an elementary school education. She had worked in the U.S. She got a job as a production. She worked her way up. First as a secretary, she took a typing course, and she became the production manager of a large corporation. Scheduling what is going to be produced by whom, when, and therefore what orders can be taken and when they can be promised and all that. She was very good. She was naturally good with systems. She came to Eretz Yisrael and she decided she is going to be a medical secretary with an elementary school education. So when they first came here, she went to Ulpan and she spoke Hebrew to anyone she could. She became totally fluent in Hebrew. Her Hebrew was like an Israeli. She applied for a job in Hadassah. Her education didn't really say much for her, but her personality did. They hired her. She became the secretary to first the top neurologist and the head of the neurology department. She was then transferred to nuclear medicine, and she took over the department. She was officially the head secretary, but everyone said she was the director. Mm-hmm. She redid the department. She redid the department. She set up systems for processing brain scans and all kinds of stuff where people got answers, within days instead of within a month or two. And it broke all the rules. I mean, forget about it. Forget about at least a BA. Something. She didn't have a high school diploma. Her teacher was a great mother. She always said that. In Yeshiva, when they asked me, who was of all my rebbeim, who taught me the most? Mom. So this idea that women need secondary education, it's not so. Yeah, Gemara is not for them, especially in this day and age. I think it's for women to be able to they get degrees in everything, and they can be the CEO of a major corporation, but Torah, she should be on the level of an elementary school kid. That just doesn't make sense. Women have to know. Women have to know. Yeah.
What's the responsibility of a father towards his daughter in terms of education? Like, does it only rest with the mother, or are there certain things that he should try?
Well, he's got to make sure she gets it.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to finance it, But he has to make sure she gets it. I spent time first of all, I mean, at the table, it wasn't just I would teach a lot of Mishnah at the table. My daughters know a lot.
Like at your Shabbos table?
What?
At your Shabbos table?
At the Shabbos table, yes. Yeah, we went through many Masechtas and Mishnayos. At the Shabbos table, I know people thought it was funny. I had two boys and 5 girls. It was primarily, especially when the boys were in Yeshiva, 5 girls at the table. I'm teaching the Mishnayos. But I thought it was important. And you know, when someone passes away in the mitzvahs that people divide, they study Mishnayos in a person's memory. So in our family, when that happens, you know, my daughters take Mishnah also.
How did you do that? Like during this, you would have like the meal, then you'd be like.
During the meal, we had discussions, but towards the end of the meal, I would every meal would get a Mishnah, and as it was time close to the time of the Chagim, it would be we do many Mishnahs in order to finish the whole thing. Yeah.
Are there exceptions to women learning Gemara? Like I read, a Maharal and his wife were learning.
There are women that sort of have this male personality. There are women that it works for. There are women that it works for. The Rambam, the way the Rambam puts it is rov. Most women will turn Torah into vanity. There are stories of Devorah. This past week we read that Torah. Devorah was she was the Gadol Hador. She was the person everyone came to with their questions. No, she wasn't just a prophetess. She was the most learned person in her generation. So don't tell me it's not possible. Yeah.
Were there like just as many female prophetesses as male? Because I know that there are a few in Tanakh. There's just like 2 or 3 female prophetesses out of like the whole school.
How many there were altogether? We have no idea. So there were many prophets and prophetesses. We have no idea how many there were. The ones that were written down in the Navi because they spoke for generations. Yes, we know that. But the ones that were just available to tell you about your neshama and what you should be doing with your life, you know, where your lost donkeys are, we have no idea. We have no idea. There were many. Those schools that taught prophecy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, we really have no idea. Yeah.
So women aren't supposed to learn Gemara. How does that explain like certain halachos that the Gemara talks about that are specific for women?
How are they supposed to know those halachas?
No, I'm saying why is it necessary for men to learn these things? It seems like it's for women.
A man has to know everything. A man like if someone who's not a Kohen or a Levi has to know the halachas for a Kohen and a Levi as well. The wisdom of Torah is something that a man has to know every bit of wisdom of Torah.
Okay, so then how will the women also come to?
So they're supposed to get it elsewhere. There's no written source. There's a lack of source material for women for all of Torah. There's enough out there for them to study, but there's so much that some of the principles of Torah it should really be someone's got to write this.
Could they get it from like the Shulchan Aruch and stuff, or would that not?
Yeah, but it's not like going to the source. It's not like going to the source. And by the way, like looking up a Gemara is permissible. It's the question of making that their text. Yeah. A Rebbe of mine used to spend time learning with every one of his children. And his daughter became one of the most successful educators in Yerushalayim.
She like teaches at a school?
She taught, she's still teaching. She taught in different schools, many schools, including the what's called Seminar Hadash, which is the highest level, Beis Yaakov, high school and post-high school. I remember growing up with father teaching. Don't remember me. I was once giving a class and she was teaching next door, and I recognized what she was saying because her father taught that to me too. Okay.